United Women Federation welcome you all. We're going to be having an amazing session today with Dr. Sultan teaching us more. And we are just starting at this particular moment. The International Women Federation has been organizing these events in order to bring awareness into the world and as we grow and we're part of it. So let's start using this hour and a half. I invite you all to turn off any distractions and be focused on learning and interacting with all of us. If you're watching us from your TV or from your computer, just take notes. I'll send out messages and interact with us. If you're here with us in this Zoom meeting, by all means, put your questions on the chat. Banu is going to be helping us moderating and making sure that Dr. Sultan can actually help us. He wants this to be very informative, but also very useful for all of us. So thank you so much, Dr. Sultan, for accepting our invitation. Banu, over to you.
Thank you so much for kicking us off, Olga. Appreciate that. Greetings to everyone who's joining us globally, and happy World Environment Day. It gives us great pleasure. IUWF has great pleasure in re-inviting Dr. Sultan back for another informative session. Please bear with me as I have to read out his list of accolades here, but I want to do justice to his background and also bring the best foot forward in terms of how he has been contributing in the space. The doctor is the advisor and former director of the EcoScience Research Foundation, a not-for-profit organization in Chennai. Teaching since 25th November 1974, he was the head of the Department of Zoology and later the Department of Biotechnology at the New College, Chennai. He has done extensive work, both research and applied, on ecology and environment, earthworms, and organic input since 1978. He has been associated with several institutions, farmers, and self-help groups promoting the concepts of ecology, sustainability, organic concepts, waste management, wastewater treatment, and the list goes on. Conferred with countless awards locally and internationally, he has traveled widely in India and abroad with rich expertise in environmental issues and has addressed above 30,000 people by this time. He has been the member of Tamil Nadu Curriculum Framework Committee to oversee syllabus revision and implementation. He's involved in setting of countless educational standards from schools to major research institutions all over the world. His books, the Earthworm Book, which has been translated in Tamil, Chinese, and Persian, and Man Makkal Mahasul, which is in Tamil, are among popular among academics and others interested in earthworms and soils. While his coordinated simple tasks, great concepts is a boon to science teachers and students with 100 life science experiments which any child can perform without a lab, he has published about 80 research and review papers in national and international journals, guided 32 master philosophy and 20 PhD students. And once again, it brings us great pleasure to introduce him and invite him to this panel. Dr. Sultan, over to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Yeah. That's the modified presentation through PowerPoint. I hope it is visible. Yeah. So when Raji and the group, Olga, Banu, all of them were interested that I should talk to you people again. And because today is Environment Day, and environment is incomplete without thinking about various parameters around you. And the basic parameter on which we walk on is the soil. I have not come here to teach something new to you people. You already are aware of. I just want to take you through a journey, a sort of an information system where you can understand the concepts. And for that purpose, think different. Yes. We have to think different from what people normally think. Because we all talk about climate change. This is where many people are mistaking, and they always claim that we are going to restore our lakes, we are going to restore our forests, we are going to restore the soil, we are going to restore all tall claims made by human beings. But as one who has done research on this for the past almost 40 years now, it's something like this. You happen to see an individual who meets an accident and his leg is amputated. If I can give back the original leg to the same person, that is the restoration. But I can't give the original leg. So what do I give? I give an wooden leg. That means rehabilitation. Restoration is different. Rehabilitation is different. When we destroy an ecosystem, whether it's a forest or a lake or the soil, we as human beings cannot restore nature. We can only rehabilitate nature. Nature restores itself. Please understand, human beings cannot restore nature. How do we do that? We do that by mitigation. That's why we are meeting today, that we can talk about all this. The best way is to mitigate. The other opposite to this is where some leaders and some people think that there is no climate change around you, and that is called as adaptation. For all my Tamil listeners, is the attitude. So, that's sort of an attitude of human beings, that I don't care what's happening around me, can actually spoil an ecosystem. The United Nations brought in a series of 17 sustainable goals or sustainable development goals. If you look at these goals carefully, and I'm sure this beautiful team of yours would be working towards one or two important thrust areas of these goals. And when you look at these goals, something which strikes my mind is where people say that by 2030, there will be nutritious and sufficient food for all. Will it be possible? We have just 8 years with us. Sufficient food, yes, but nutritious and sufficient food for all by 2030. The second important character, by 2030, end all forms of malnutrition. Today, one of the most important, because I'm also with the Planning Commission for the state government, which plans policies, we find that many young children lack nutrition. Many young children have stunted growth, have are more anemic and less hemoglobin content in their bodies. So all these things have to end, and that can end only by providing them good nutrition. So we have to end all forms of malnutrition. Third important point, double agriculture productivity. I, as a person working with the soils and farmers, I doubt this claim that whether we will be able to do it in 8 years. Climate is changing, crop patterns are changing. All these are thrust areas. And please, I'm not trying to create a sort of a fear in your mind, but I think it's time that we all have to work towards it as to how to resolve these situations. The second important thing, the fourth important thing they say is improve land and soil quality. Soil quality, not soil fertility. That means we have to improve soil and make soils healthy. And the last but not the least, maintain genetic diversity. Maintain genetic diversity. Now, this is where I start sometimes get perplexed. I'm just sharing my own doubts to you people. On one side, we are concerned with biodiversity. On the other side, we would like to genetically modify crops so that I would like to possess the seeds. So on one side, it's genetic diversity. On the other side, there's a complication created by human technology. All this happens because somewhere we have forgotten our basic concepts. The three most important parameters: air, soil, water. In India, we also include two other components, that's space and fire. And we call it as the 5 important elements of nature. Now, in these important elements of nature, that's our ecosystem. We as human beings, live along with or share our ecosystem with birds, butterflies, plants, animals, different forms altogether. That's our diversity. The problem is even big organizations sometimes, they had a claim. One of the themes long back was man and the biosphere. How can we be separated as human beings from the biosphere? We are part of the biosphere. So when you look at part of the biosphere or part of the ecosystem, we have to understand basic components. That's a beautiful word, ECO. We all know that. Everybody talks about echo. Echo means home. Home, a place where we live. And where do we all live? We all live on the planet Earth. So which is our home? Earth is our home. When we study about the Earth, that includes all the living, non-living components of the Earth, it is called as ecology. The same home, my Earth, if I start evaluating every product, evaluating every system, evaluating everything, then it becomes economy. Logi is study, nomi is numbers. Now here the fight starts. Who is important? Ecology important or economy important? And through an anthropocentric view, this clash between ecology and economy usually leads into destruction of ecology. So somewhere we are overdoing certain components. A tree, if I take, to make people understand the value. I have given this in Indian rupees because US dollar and Indian rupees are varying very heavily. Now it's going more than 70 rupees a dollar. So we inhale 550 liters of oxygen per day. And one tree gives me almost several million rupees worth of oxygen per year. So when you start working with ecology and the economist doesn't understand the value of ecology, we have to give a numerical value to the natural resources so that policymakers who are usually from the economic background only then start realizing, oh my God, a tree is worth so many million per year. Unfortunately, this is the new branch which is developing called as ecological economic. So you have to work out on various parameters where you give an economic value to an ecological resource. And every country should have green cover. This green cover should be at least 33%. I know that most of you would be doing with tree planting exercises. You will be extending your information and knowledge to a large gathering of Asian countries, your members. And this green cover, what happens is, the moment you say green cover, in Asian side, tropical countries, people immediately say, why not we grow casuarina? Why not we grow teak? Because when you look from the satellite, very soon there can be a green cover. But what is the use? What is the use of just producing a green cover if it is not going to be of any use to the soil ecosystem? Immediately there is a group of people who started producing Miyawaki forests. Fair enough. In a city, there is a small area. You are going into a high density Miyawaki forest, is fair enough. But for a proper ecological system, the research which I have done with my students, we found that certain specific ecotype of trees, like for example, in Indian context, a tree like Syzygium jambolanum, which we call it as jamun in common language, wherever you find these trees, when the leaves, they fall, when they become ripened or mature and fall down and become litter, in this soil we find a larger number of microorganisms and earthworms. So when you plant a tree, remember, it should be a tree which will be useful for the entire ecosystem, not just produce green leaves. Many are ignorant about these facts. And in the name of greening, they would just like to plant any tree. we have to think about a lot variety of soil organisms which will get enriched by not only the litter which falls. These roots, the roots of these trees also exudate certain chemicals. And these are called as exohormones. And they attract a myriad, a variety of organisms, variety of microorganisms, so that the soil becomes a living soil. So it's not just a tree. Unfortunately, we look at a tree only like this. Dollars in its branches. So you cut the tree, you make money out of it. But when rain comes, the soil splashes. You have seen that. And this soil goes completely into the sea. This is topsoil. It is this topsoil which gives us food. And ladies and gentlemen who are attending this program, nature takes at an average 250 to 400 years to develop 1 inch of topsoil. So we need trees which will produce microorganisms, which will hold the soil and which will also allow the soil to grow. If that is the case, soil. What is soil? Soil is more important than you think. More important than you think. And indeed, if you ask me what is soil, soil is food. No soil, no food. Remember that. Many people think that oxygen, carbon, yes, everything is important. But no soil, no food. Immediately people tell me, what about hydroponics? Hydroponics can serve limited parameters, limited food for limited number of people. It cannot replace soil, which is a natural ecosystem. That's the reason why in 2015, the United Nations declared as International Year of Soils. They realized that soils are going bad. There are no soils to take care of. In this, I went into a lot of discussions. I wanted to see what is happening around us, whether soil is living or non-living, whether soil is a dead. I went through various components into it. Very interesting features. I may not like to go into all the details, but one question I would like to ask. When I used to talk about this, people asked me whether soil has a digestive system, respiratory system, excretory system, reproductive system. I started giving logical explanations to everything. And finally, they asked me whether soil has a brain, whether soil can think. To my experience, working with soils for 40 years now, yes, soil has a brain. How? You dig a pit. You put all the leaf litter. You close it. What happens inside? They decompose. They decompose. But you dig a pit and put a seed into it, it germinates. It doesn't decompose. So soil knows what it has to decompose and what it has to allow to germinate. Such a beautiful soil is what is soil. Such a lovely living soil is full of life. There are various organisms in it, multitude of organisms in it, microarthropods, microorganisms, earthworms, millipedes, you name them, and that species is so huge, so huge. Beautiful variety of organisms. All this improves soil health. You may ask me, Professor, but you always say that earthworm is very important. Yeah, earthworm is important. If I ask you, what did you have for breakfast? You may say, I had a toast. But you never tell me whether you had toast with butter or with cheese or with jam or with egg or with a sandwich or whatever it is. We just tell toast. In the same way, whatever major thing which is visible is the bread, the toast. In the same way, in a soil, if I happen to see earthworm in the soil, I presume that all this group is living with them. So earthworm becomes an indicator of soil health. If that is the case, all these organisms are there and leader is the earthworm. There's the reason why, right in our school books, in our younger days, we always read that earthworm is farmer's friend because it plows the soil. And you in Canada and the US, you have lovely, and Europe as well as in UK, Lumbricus terrestris, which is a wonderful, huge earthworm, which creates channels and tubes and creates a whole circulatory system in the soil so that aeration takes place. And beautifully, you find all the litter which falls during the fall goes into incorporation, and there's a lovely spring in the ecosystem which gives you beautiful paths. Without your knowledge, these secret workers have already worked for you. In our side of the continent, we get species like Metaphyre postuma, we get Lampito morishi, we get varieties of megascolecid earthworms. Those participants from Asia, China, this part of the world, we have more amount of megascolecid earthworms. Europe, US, you have more part of lumbricid earthworms. Anyway, they belong to two groups, but they do the same job, so don't worry. Two very important organisms for soil ecosystem, earthworms and termites. Then why don't we prepare termites? We don't like them because they eat away our doors and windows. Otherwise, in a natural ecosystem, they do a wonderful job. They live as a society along with fungi. They aerate the soil. They create various structures inside the soil. A healthy soil, those who do gardening, please remember, a healthy soil should be a little bit of fluffiness should be there. Air should be there in the soil. We always think about adding organic matter, organisms, humus, etc., etc. But there should also be air in the soil, usually 25% of air. And there should be organic matter in the soil. So when you take soil and you just take it to your nose and smell it during the smelling, that sweet smell of the soil is because of actinomycetes, microorganisms which live in the soil. Soil itself has no smell. Water itself has no smell. That sweet aroma of the soil you get is because of the microorganisms that live in the soil. So I should see to it that there should be organic matter in the soil. And organic matter is food for these organisms. Unfortunately, today, the whole world, lots of soil is lost. And because of mismanagement, wherein chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticides are added in huge quantities, much of the soil is turning saline or sodic. There's a wrong idea in the minds of people that we can grow food, we can have there's hydroponics, we can have aquaponics, we will be able to produce food, but not to the multitude for the huge population we have in this world. So it's time that we have to maintain our soils. For example, soil is already bad. What can I do for it? Now, this soil which you find on the screen is sodic soil. It's a saline type of soil. Now, this soil, if I study the profile of the soil, is very bad. No life in it. So what has happened? Can I grow something on it? Or should I write it off? In fact, in our planning commission meeting of the government here, in the government of Tamil Nadu, when we were discussing, we decided we will not call any land as waste land because nature doesn't produce anything in waste. We will call it as unused land. We do not have enough ideas. We do not have enough comprehension on how to develop and work with nature. Nature doesn't give us anything bad. So what we did with this sort of soil, we started growing earthworms in them, local earthworms, multiplying them, slowly trying to rejuvenate the soil, slowly creating burrows in the soil where the earthworms start moving in the soil. And then gradually, after 4.5 years, we were able to convert that soil into this beautiful ecosystem. So nothing is supposed to be waste. Is that clear? So from this stage to this stage, 4.5 years. But a permanent solution. Let us all put our hands together to work towards improving our soil health. because soil health is very important. Sir, I do not know. I have a garden, but I do not know my soil is good enough or bad. How can I find it out? Very simple. Take a glass bottle or a plastic bottle, put soil into it, about 1/3 of the bottle. Add another 1/3 of water. Close it, shake it very well and keep it. Gradually, in about half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, depending upon the type of soil, they will start forming into different strata. Sand settles at the bottom, followed by silt and clay, and on top of it, you will see your organic matter. Now you know how rich your soil is. For my friends from gardening societies, sir, I would like to have some good soil. I want to grow a garden. I want to have some potted plants, but I don't know which soil to use. Just take soil in your palm, little bit of soil, add little water, and make it into a dough. Something like we make this bread dough and things like that. Take it between your finger and your thumb and roll it into a wick, into a thread. Roll it into a thread. If you're unable to roll it, in case you are unable to roll that into a thread, that means it is full of sand. Not very good. You can roll it, and it's going on about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, more than 2 inches. That means your soil is full of clay. Again, not so good. You are making it into a thread. The thread breaks. Sorry. The thread breaks after about 1 inch or 1.5 inches. It means it's a loamy soil. It's a very, very good soil. So for any garden, you can use your loamy stuff. Just give it. Excuse me. It's a very simple thing. And those from Asia, people from Asia, people from the Eastern world, those who have cattle on your farms, just take cattle for a walk. It drops the dung. Leave the dung there itself. Don't remove the dung from the soil. Leave it for 2-3 days. If the dung dries up like a pat, that means your soil is very poor. There is no moisture. There are no organisms. If the dung crumbles into small bits, it means there is moisture and there are soil organisms which are acting on it. So it's a beautiful system of nature which tells us which is a good soil, which is not a good soil. We don't require a major soil testing lab to analyze all this. Unfortunately, today, city children who have never seen dung are taking pictures of it. That's what people have been missing. So our education system, as a child who has studied only in school, cannot be called as, in quotes, educated, unless we take them out and make them understand the entire ecosystem. 1 spoon of soil has millions of bacteria, microorganisms, and that is a healthy soil. And we are killing it. We are killing it. That's cattle. That's cattle. Cattle are very important. Animal heads are very important for agriculture. No, once upon a time, we used to use lots of cattle for plowing the soil. So when we used to use cattle to plow the soil, apart from that, the cattle gave us dry cow dung cakes. In Asia, we use them as a fuel, and also manure, and also milk. Fair enough. But then the biogas plants came in to generate biogas, to generate a lot of gas. We call it as biogas or gobar gas or whatever gas you want. And then what happened? This gentleman came in. Once the tractors came in, we said, we don't need animals anymore. But unfortunately, the tractor does not give us dung. It only leaves behind smoke. So what happens is, when you use a cattle and plow, the soil comes up slowly and it aerates the whole soil. When I use a heavy machinery, wherever you get the wheels, what happens? There is compaction. And when compaction happens, air inside those units, air inside the soil escapes. When air escapes, soil organisms perish. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. You can try that experiment yourself. In case in your house, in your garden, the plant is growing very well in your friend's pot, but not growing well in your pot. One of the simplest reasons would be that the soil has become too compact. Take the soil, loosen it up, add a little bit of manure, try it again, and lo, you are going to have wonderful. You call it as voila. Yeah, voila, you're going to see lovely flowers over it, right? Try it next time. It's as simple as that. The problem is the concepts have changed. We used to call it as soil fertility. Unfortunately, what has happened today in our countries, I do not know about your country, whenever we give soil for a testing laboratory in Asia, they would test the soil and tell us the content of N, nitrogen, phosphate, potash, the pH, the electroconductivity, the micronutrients. They don't stop with that. They write one recommendation where they advise you to add so much quantity of salts into it. That's urea or phosphates or potash. So soil fertility got related with fertilizers. So people like us who work with farmers in self-generating or regenerative agriculture, we refer the term as soil health. Soil health is a holistic term. What's the beautiful aroma of the soil? How the soil has plenty of earthworms in them. What is life in the soil, and not just the salts in the soil. You know, when you cook a curry at home and you serve for your family, it is not just the masalas, the chili, the salt, the material which has gone into the curry. It is your love and passion which has gone into making it. That's the basic difference between soil fertility and soil health. Soil health is an inclusive term which also includes the passion of the soil. This is very important. I wish that you people also be aware of it in the Western world. You know, in case a woman is pregnant, and if you want the baby to be healthy, do you inject medicine or anything into the fetus, or do we see to it that we give good healthy food to the mother so that the baby develops very healthy? We give food for the mother. We don't inject into the baby. In the same way, if good healthy crop has to be harvested, the mother soil has to be nourished properly. Throughout the world, nutrient content of the soil is depleting. I have to take care of the soil, but many ruling governments have taken policies where they say, I don't care about the soil. I will harvest the products and then I would fortify them. And that is called as fortified food. Fortified food can have addition of iron, can have addition of iodine, can be anything can be added, which means it's a total corporatization of our food. And we are going to take something which we may not desire. Everybody may not require that particular element in their body. So excess of iron in the body can probably cause harm to growing children. So we have to always think about all these components. It's high time that we realize what's happening around us. One of the reasons, one of the basic things which came in is a term called as vermitech. I was the first one to use in this world this particular term. Of course, I did not patent it, so many people use it now. It's vermitech. Now, vermitech is technology of using earthworms. These are my local earthworms in India. You have variety of earthworms. I have worked in the UK where I did my postdoc, so I have seen a variety of earthworms which are over there. The similar conditions are seen in your country as well. So there are variety of earthworms, but whatever may be the variety, there you can classify them into 3 types. Only 3 types. One which lives on the surface of the soil. They are the ones who chew the glitter, they eat it, they convert it. They are the chef in the restaurant who cooks the food for you. In the same way, they are the chefs who cook the food for the entire soil community. Okay, fine. The chef is cooking in the kitchen, but I am sitting at the dining table. Who is going to get it for me? And that's the anasics. They are the anasics. Anasic means intermediate. Epigeic means geo, soil, earth. Epi means above. So those which live above the earth. Anasic, intermediate. These people are the waiters. They come to you and they say, "What, ma'am? What would you like to have for dinner?" And you say that, "Well, fine, get me a wonderful soup, vegetable soup." And he goes and tells the chef, "Ma'am wants a soup." The waiter doesn't prepare the soup. So chef prepares the soup and he brings it back to you. And the third very important category is the endozoic, worms which live inside the soil. They are the ones who soften the soil, who clean the tables, who makes everything beautifully neat. So soil is a restaurant. It's a 5-star restaurant, a beautiful restaurant where a group of earthworms are creating the soil. A group of earthworms are moving from top to bottom, creating channels, creating air, carrying food, giving it to the roots, and then lo, it comes the plant, and we harvest them and eat. So this lovely soil restaurant has to be restored, and these are my native earthworms. You have a similar variety. You have Icenia, you have Lumbricus, you have a variety of them. Allolobophora, Actinosum, there are so many Octacean, there are so many varieties you have. Each earthworm in a different soil is of a different type. They are called as ecotypes. Every type, every ecological system has a type of organism. That is their circulatory system. The waiters creating channels, the air going inside, the nutrients going inside. I hope now you are able to realize the importance of soil organisms, working with the soil, the importance. And that's my friend Earthworm's family history. They grow, they multiply, and that's the life cycle. Please remember that earthworms, in case you are culturing them, they are hermaphrodites, which means each earthworm has both male and female in it. Even though it has both male and female in it, it requires a partner to mate. Here in this slide is actually Lumbricus. This picture I took when I was doing my postdoc in UK, because this is Lumbricus terrestris, where you find that one earthworm, you can find the head on this side and the tail on the other end. The other earthworm's head is on this side, tail on the other end, and they exchange their gametes. That is their mating process. So once they mate, you would have seen earthworms have a clitellum, a ring, a beautiful ring in the front when they are mature. And supposing this is the ring, this ring after mating slowly comes out. The layer around the ring comes out, and this contains the fertilized egg and is called the cocoon. So these are the cocoons. These are the cocoons. Lovely cocoons. And from these cocoons, right? That's Perionyx, which is our local earthworm. This is Icenia, which is plenty in your country. You can use them for composting purposes. And this is Udrilus, which we in Asia, Malaysia, China, all these places, no, China uses Icenia. Australia and Africa, they use this particular variety called as Udrilus eugenie. All these varieties. Very simple to do composting. Decomposed organic matter. Introduce the earthworms and keep a dry cow dung patty on the top. That's it. They start multiplying. I live in a Western world. I don't get a patty. Can I get patty? Oh, fine. Who sells patty now? Amazon sells, Flipkart sells, Big Basket sells. And that's vermicompost for you. That is what is vermicompost. Very, very good fertilizer. How do I do it? Put any organic matter, introduce microbial inoculum. In the Western world, you will have to buy it. Or at home, because most of you may use yogurt or curd at home. Leave it on the table, not in the refrigerator, for about 3 or 4 days. You will find that the top layer becomes yellowish and ferments more. When it becomes more ferment, more sour, you will find lots of microorganisms in it. Dilute in water and just sprinkle it on the top. I use dilute cow dung because here in Asia I can use it. But you can use curd or yogurt, fermenting it, and then spraying on it. That's a very simple process. And then I keep layer after layer. And once the layers are ready, I loosely cover it with a polythene sheet. Why? Because it retains moisture and heat inside. Now inside heat starts growing. Heat increases. Lots of heat is formed. And this heat is important because this heat, high temperature of about 60 to 62 degrees. Don't say that we have winter. I have done these experiments in Japan in coolest temperatures. So don't give me any excuses, okay? Temperature builds up inside, and this temperature is very important for me because it destroys unwanted pathogens, unwanted pests, and unwanted seeds. Then after 15 days, I turn it over. Maybe in your climate, you may take around 20-25 days. You turn it over, steam comes up. And then gradually after another 30-40 days, the whole thing goes down. Now this is cool, wonderful, beautiful material. Just sieve it. And then you give it to the earthworms. And that is a delicious Asian biryani. And the earthworms eat them and produce lovely vermicompost. Give it to your plants and your plants love it like anything. That's vermicompost. That's it. It's as simple as that. Each one of us can do it. Very easy. But please be very clear. There's a difference between nematodes and earthworms. Nematodes are roundworms. Roundworms will be short, smooth like this. Earthworms will be made up of segments. Please remember that. Your good friends from Asia, please remember that sometimes when you have vermicompost done, this person, Bipalium cubense, it's a planarian worm. It is a parasite. It may come to eat the earthworms. Please remember it. Please remember it. They come and chew up the earthworms. What can I do if I see them? Very simple. With a pair of tongs, just lift them and put them in salt water. That's it over. They will not come in plenty. Once or twice, they may try to reach. So it's very simple to handle. But whatever compost you do on the Asian side, you may get this sort of white grubs. Now, these are larvae of rhinoceros beetle. Larvae of rhinoceros beetle. So those friends from your group who are from Asia, in case you happen to see them, have some good chicken growing at home, give them to chicken, your chicken would love them and they would eat them. Because if you allow them to mature, they can go and affect coconut trees. These beetles can usually go and attack coconut trees. So we have to be very careful with them. Okay? Whatever composting you do. Sir, I want to do something very simple. Not with too much because I am busy, I am working. Very simple. Just put some poles on your soil and whatever litter you have, you put it inside it. Add moisture, water, little sour curd, as I told you. Asian side, little bit of dilute cow dung, and voila, compost gets formed automatically. Should I get only these poles? No, nowadays you even get such beautiful plastic containers also. Meshed containers. Meshed, you get them in meters. So you just buy them and just tie them up as circles. Keep putting inside and add it. That's it over. These are very simple process wherein we can do composting. So that's all fine. I am from a very busy schedule, but can it be something more beautiful in my garden? Well, buy 7 flower pots. Call them as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You all know that the flower pots have holes in the base. They should be there. It should be open. Put a little bit of pebbles at the base of all the pots. Little bit of pebbles. Fair enough. Your pot is ready now. Sunday's vegetable waste. Please do not start with non-vegetarian waste unless you learn how to do composting. Because if you don't manage it properly, it will stink. So first you try your luck with vegetables. Take any peels, vegetable waste, chop it into small bits. Because when you chop it, it's faster. Put it in Sunday pot. Little bit of sour curd, dilute in water, sprinkle it. Take 1 handful of soil, sprinkle it. Sunday's job over. Monday's waste in Monday pot. Tuesday's waste in Tuesday's pot. So you come back to Sunday pot after 7 days. By that time, 50% of composition has taken place. Now again add on it. On the same thing you added. The next Sunday, second Sunday. Then second Monday, second Tuesday. Then again third Sunday, third Monday, third Tuesday, third Wednesday, third Friday. Then fourth Sunday. So after adding 4 times in a month, once in a month, you may just take a small stick and just mix the content in the pot. Over. Sunday ka mix ho gaya, Wednesday, Monday mix, Tuesday mix, everything you have mixed up as you go. For a small household, it takes around 3 to 4 months for all the pots to be full. It's now full. Leave it for another 15-20 days. Just sprinkle little water. Now each pot contains beautiful organic matter, soil, microorganisms, everything in them. So your pot is ready. In each flower pot, in one, you plant okra. In one, you plant tomato. In one, you plant eggplant. In one, you plant your palak. Well, your flower pots are ready with organic farm. It's as simple as that. You can try it in your own garden. Sir, but I have some soil around me. Should I go and buy pots? Not necessary. If you have good soil and if you are very sure that you don't have animals which will come to graze over there, just measure 3 feet dia and mark a circle. 3 feet dia. 1.5 feet at the middle and scoop out the soil like a basin. Scoop out the soil like a basin and put it around. Put a little bit of sour curd, little bit of composted litter at the base. Keep watering for about 10 or 15 days. Microorganisms multiply. After that, add your kitchen waste over there every day. After another 15 days, on the inner margin where you find the yellow arrow, you can start planting your, on the yellow arrow, you can start planting your beautiful, spinach, coriander, mint. And on the outer margin where you find the green arrow, you can have tomatoes, okra, you can have whatever you want. So once you do that, on one side you are doing waste management, on the other side, you are enjoying your food. Very simple. Can we start? Decide what you want, whichever system. This is what I'm teaching to farmers here. A large number of women farmers, women households. In Asia, we have lots of people who have to buy products and they don't have money they can't afford it. So in such places, we teach them so that they can be self-reliant. But unfortunately, there are some industries which manufacture this sort of composters and they claim that they can compost in 24 hours. You cannot compost in 24 hours. These are volume reduction machines. So if somebody comes to you people and says, I can compost in 24 hours, ask him or her whether that person was born in 10 months or in 10 minutes. Compost cannot be produced in 24 hours. Why, sir? Why should I need compost? Well, fine. If I'm catching some live fish and the fish dies, I don't have a refrigerator. I don't have ice with me, but I want to keep it safe for 3-4 days. What do? Very simple. I add salt to it. When I add salt, like pickling, they don't decompose because microorganisms cannot multiply. But what will happen to my fish? It will become dry fish. In the same way, my healthy living soil, which also has a brain, if you keep adding salts, like nitrate is a salt, phosphate is a salt, potash is a salt, my soil is also becoming a dry fish, a karwad. When I take too much of salt, I feel thirsty. I need water. In the same way, you keep adding salts to the soil demands water. So soil management cannot be separated from water management. Let us start feeding soils with organic matter. For all those participants who would like to go in for terrace garden, don't be afraid, go ahead with the terrace garden. If in case some of my friends have a terrace and the border wall, the last wall is called as the load-bearing wall, you can always grow within 3 feet of the load-bearing wall. And wherever the old building has those sort of reaps on the top, you can always do it across it also, 3 feet. Okay, sir, but still I'm afraid. In that case, you can make a berth with casuarina or bamboo or any sticks, and you can grow them in bags. Very simple. Sir, I live in an apartment. I'm in Canada, not in India. I live in an apartment. I have no place, no soil. How much soil is required to grow a plant? To grow mint, you require only 4 inches of soil. And to grow fenugreek, vendium, methi, even a small plastic container is enough. What I have been teaching school children here is to grow them in coconut shells. That much of soil is enough to grow beautiful. You can see how much of fenugreek can be grown in each. Just if you go to a restaurant and order for a methi paratha, you can make methi parathas at home once you start making them. It's as simple as that. Fenugreek is at home, little bit of soil is available. How much of water should I give to the plants, sir? My plants are all dying. Many homemakers, honestly saying, without knowing, out of over kindness to the plant, you overwater them and you drown them. You see, if I visit you and ask you, can I have some water to drink? You will give it to me in a tumbler or a glass. If I tell you, I need some urgent water, I want to pour it on my head, you may give it to me in a bucket. If I tell, no, I want to go for a swim, you may show me a swimming pool. So a person like me, who is 6 foot tall, requires only a glass of water. How much of water is required by the plant? Soil moisture, not soil water. Please remember that. Please remember. And if you have organic matter in the soil, it retains moisture. So don't water every day. Don't water every day. Mulch it up. Mulching should be done properly. What do you mean by properly, sir? Because when you do mulching, microorganisms multiply and they support my plant. So what should I do? The Western world, plastic. No. You are supposed to use organic matter. Plastic generates a lot of heat. So you may not get weeds, but nourishment is lost. Organic mulch gives you beautiful results. Okay, sir, I have trees. I'm not interested in vegetable garden. I love trees. What can I do for the trees? Very simple. It is raining. I hold an umbrella. The water falls around me, not on me. I don't have an umbrella. I go and stand under the shade of a big tree. 1 or 2 drops may fall on my head, but the rest of the water falls around the tree. Why should water fall around the tree? That is nature. Nature drops the water around the tree because the roots which drink are there. So where should I water the tree? Where the canopy ends. What do I do at home? I put near the trunk. So it takes time for the water, it takes time for the manure, it takes time for the nutrients to reach those ends and then go into the plant. These are simple things which we have to bring a change. These are the earthworm burrows that are very creative, which is the circulatory system of the soil, based on which I created vermi wash, a liquid fertilizer, which, thanks to brains in the West, they modified with a slight temperature and called it as earthworm tea. Now, this is compost tea. They call it as compost tea. Now, this is vermi wash liquid fertilizers. You can produce it in any way at home. This is Panchakavya. All these processings or methodology are available in my website, but you're also recording it. So here is the procedure. So anybody wants to make it at home, please go ahead and make it. No patents on any of this which I'm showing you. We in India, we want to see to it that it reaches the world. In the same way, people sell EM, effective microorganisms, throughout the world. But we have modified it here, farmers have modified it, and they call it as farmers' effective microorganisms. Any fruit, not citric fruits, papaya, banana, overripe fruits, just put them in a plastic bottle, add jaggery or unrefined sugar or sugar, because you require sugar or carbon for microorganisms to multiply. Mix them both like a squash. Add water, shake it every day, leave it. In about a month or so, open it, you can smell a lot of alcohol. Fermentation process. Decant it, dilute it, spray it. Fertilizer is ready. Sir, can I use some fish? Yes. Any fish waste, along with jaggery or sugar or unrefined sugar, anything, mix it, add water, close it, keep it for some days. It again decomposes itself into a fermented liquid. This is called as fish amino. Makes your plants glow like anything. Anything else I can do, sir, which is easier? Bioenzymes, which people use for washing. Sir, for plants, this is the simplest thing I do in my house. I eat the banana, the peels, I put them in a plastic bottle, pour water and leave them for about 3-4 days. After 4 days, open it, take the water, dilute, and apply to your plants. Lovely flowers because full of potassium. Full of potassium. And those peels will become soft. Just dig it and bury it in the soil. Sir, I have no time for all this. Fair enough. Dry the banana peels, shred them. Dry the eggshells, crush them, mix them both, and put it to your plants. Slow releasing fertilizer is ready. Sir, I want something very fast. I want some potash. I want some calcium for my plants. Beautiful. You eat the omelette. Keep the shells carefully. Crush the shells, and then you can slightly roast them. Crush the cells and slightly roast them. Because, like shells inside, there will be a sort of albumin sticking onto it. It may stink. So slightly roast them, put them in a bottle, any bottle, glass bottle or a plastic bottle, and add vinegar to it. Vinegar is acetic acid. Shells are calcium carbonate. The moment you add, they will start bubbling. Blah, 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 blah. In 1.5 to 2 days, all the elements which were there in the eggshell come into the liquid. Decant it, dilute it, spray it. Your fertilizer is ready. Seeds, be careful. Almost 14 varieties of seeds, or at least 10 of those 14 are in your kitchen. So don't buy it from outside. They are available with you. Traditional seeds are called as heirloom seeds. But be careful when you buy from the market, because when you buy from the market, they are colored. And this color is because of a nasty neonicotinoids. It's a nasty chemical. If you're going to plant these seeds, wash your hands properly. Don't give it in the hands of children because it is neurotoxic. Be careful about hybrids and GMOs. Hybrids is same variety. GMO is genetically modified, which you are aware of. Food is medicine. Remember that. We don't require medicine in food. We don't require genetic modifications. People said BT cotton is good. But BT cotton, here in India, they drink milk from cotton seeds. They make sweets from cotton seeds. So we do not know what effect it's going to cause. They want to bring in BT brinjal, BT eggplants, when my country, India, has more than 60 varieties. My state has more than 22 varieties now. Please be careful about one more thing. I'm sorry, I'm just another 5 minutes, I just use them. You know, like today, a new sort of a chemical has come in called as recombinant bovine growth hormone. Recombinant bovine growth hormone. You inject this hormone, you can milk the cow completely. All money, beautiful results. But unfortunately, in about 3 to 3.5 years, the cattle will develop mastitis of the udder. It's a disease. This is on one side. Usually milk will get pasteurized. But in Asian countries, in rural areas, if they inject this and then they milk the cow, then if the child drinks that milk, especially girl children, they will attain puberty at the age of 8 or 9. Their entire hormone system will get affected. Be careful about all these things. Be careful. Sir, I get a lot of pests. Can you give me some information about pest attack? If that is the case, I am not a competent person. You must ask this professor. Who is that professor? Professor Goat. Professor Goat is an intelligent being. You take Professor Goat for a walk. Whatever plant a goat does not eat has pest repellent properties. Whatever plant a goat does not eat has pest repellent properties. That's why this plant at the base is called as Ada Toda. The name Aadu Todadadu. Goat doesn't touch. So we teach farmers to grind these leaves, add water, add them. We also add certain other things, also pest repellents in organic farming, which you can use, but also water is also essential. You people think that water would be eternal. Water cannot be eternal because we put in lots of borewells today. We are taking water out. So can we go in for decentralized systems? I think IUWF can do it beautifully. Yeah, small tanks can be made with pebbles and you grow some plants into it, like Canna indica. And these plants, Colocasia, or even Phragmites, these are all good plants. And then pass through it. Look at the soap water which goes into it. This is from my own washing machine. The soap water from the washing machine goes into it, from the laundry, gets cleared, and that lovely water is coming out from this end. That could be connected to the garden and goes to my garden. It's as simple as that. I think it's time that we should work on all this. So please see to it that you study societal needs, have some ethics in what you're going to do, derive some funds, take some creativity, apply your knowledge, put in science behind it, and then put your engineering design. This is very important for us because In the world today, even today, we have people where they don't get food or water. So please, from today, all my request to all our members here is, do not waste food. Do not waste food. And also don't get confused at all in life. Some people say permaculture is the best. Some say no, biodynamic farming is the best. Some say no, sustainable farming is the best. Some say natural farming is the best. And some may say organic farming is the best. Just don't care about it. You take some from here, some from there. You do whatever you want, as long as it is non-synthetic, chemical, non-poisonous farm. So let us all unite together and work for it, because today what this child eats and drinks is not safe. Microplastics have started coming in water. Please understand, in Chennai, my place, we find 6 microplastic pieces per liter of water. Microplastics have come in salt. Microplastics have come in fish. Microplastics have come in fruits and vegetables through the roots. They have come in the atmosphere, in the air. And today, they have been reported to be present in human blood. Microplastics in the human blood has been published by The Guardian. Microplastics are causing deformities in fish in our river systems here. So be careful. And to my knowledge, they are also affecting my earthworms. So sad, no? Yeah. So be creative. Please be creative. Let us reworm the world. Today, when it rains, water completely does not percolate. Water doesn't percolate. If worms come in, they will make burrows. And when it rains, water will start percolating. So let us bring back the worms. Let us bring back the worms. People talk about global warming. My entire research has been global warming. So produce worms in the world. That was my research. I love this statement by Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel laureate. With every child that is born comes a message that God is not yet disappointed with man. You can see the heart on it. If you are reading the heart on the screen, just jumble the words. It's the earth. Our heart lives in the earth. These are my new books, which I have published now recently for children. And we must improve. And improvement starts with the alphabet I. So can I improve myself? And if you really want to improve, the most important word I like is management. Without the last alphabet T, it is manage men, which means manage others. And without the last alphabet N, it is manage me. Only if I can manage myself, I can manage others. And that is management. You don't need a MBA degree to understand this concept, right? So let us work. That's our eye view. But who cares? So let us all work together. All the best to the team. All the best to you all. Good luck. Thank you.
Dr. Sultan, we wish that we were able to send the sound of our applause over through Zoom to you. You know, you have been speaking for the past 1 hour, but we didn't feel that the time went by. And I wish some of my professors back in universities had the storytelling capabilities that you do. I wouldn't have fallen asleep, and neither would have been a backbencher. So.
Only backbenchers learn this art of telling stories.
Yes, they do. They do. They know what kept them awake, and then they propagate that further. But no words can really express how grateful we are to our viewers and everyone joining us across the world. It's worth noting that today is World Environment Day, and as part of that, Dr. Sultan has been in back-to-back meetings all day, and he still accepted to present with us. He gave his personal time, his family time, and treated us as his family. As he said, the earth is our home, and he has treated us as one of his family members, to which we are forever grateful. And it's hard not to feel your passion about earthworms and the earth and preservation of what needs to be there for the generation of tomorrow. We need to be so careful. And I know you started off this conversation by saying you're not making us scared, but it's high time that everyone starts taking responsibility for their actions, responsibility towards building a better tomorrow. And if we don't, there's not going to be much left. So with that, we actually have a few questions for you, and we have 20 more minutes as well of your time. So we're hoping to get what I ask you is a lot of the North American as well as international locations, people are living in cities, and I think you gave us a lot of insight whereby you said we don't need that much soil to grow plants, and it's really the passion that you have to build these plants. And you showed us those really cute coconut shells with micro plants in them, and that could be used for cooking. One thing I wanted to ask is, you talked about having mixed agriculture in the sense that you should have different types of plants. And when space is limited, do you have any suggestions on how you can choose some of these plants to make sure that there's balanced growth even within like limited surroundings?
It's better that we don't think through our point of view, because my habit, I have a wide diversity of plants in my house. So my habit is I just go plant what I like, but what survives, survives. Usually, a problem starts only when we want to grow what we want to grow. But we have to be aware of what the soil will prefer to grow. And as a thumb rule, if your soil is acidic, try to grow alkaline plants. And if your soil is alkaline, try to grow acidic plants. They will grow happily. And they know how to manage among themselves. Their roots will take care of it. So we need not worry about it.
Wonderful. So basically, not having expectations in life is good for relationships and for plants. Yes. Wonderful. The next thing I wanted to ask was, a lot of the cities are generally flooded with many office buildings and things like that. And if we think about downtown locations, central business districts, there's barely any plant space. I mean, they maintain small areas of park to get a little bit of greenery, but apart from that, it's really hard to find good investment in environmental initiatives when you work in these city areas. So how do you think workplaces can change? Because I saw some articles where people were saying that, in the kitchen space, they build a living wall. So the plants are growing on the wall and things like that. Any suggestions that you can share that people who are going to work, who have office space, who can invest in this sort of an initiative?
Vertical gardens, about which you were talking about on the walls, is becoming a popular thing. And unfortunately, because it started in the West, my city also puts it on the bridges, on the sides of the walls of the flyovers and things like that. And it has very little quantity of soil to hold. And our climate today, the temperature is almost 38 to 40 degrees Celsius. It cannot hold moisture for a long time, and these plants die. But in your area, in your climate, probably they may be able to survive. Vertical garden, fair enough. It can add some amount of greenery, but it's not serving the purpose of providing real oxygen and values to it. Well, the best thing is that industries, if the government permits, because I do not know the regulations of the government. So if the government permits, or your municipality or your places permit, then it would be better if they can have huge pots in front of their offices and grow lovely plants into it. There's absolutely no problem into it. And if they have terrace space and open space inside the office, they can grow. There are a variety of indoor plants which are available today. And any officer, if their office permits, because sometimes people have this regulations in their own office spaces. If there is no particular regulation, there's no particular restriction, then they can happily grow indoor plants, in potted plants, and create a sort of a green environment around them. In fact, when I was a youngest teacher, my head of the department, who got educated incidentally in Canada, Professor Moidin, he once asked me, Sultan, did you notice any point of time that why is it the biology departments are always on the first floor? That is the second story of any building. Why are they not in the ground floor or the first story of the building? I said, probably we use microscopes and we need light. He said, no. That is one of the reasons. You can also use the artificial light. But when you keep looking in the microscope and working, and when your eyes go tired, you lift them, you're looking at the greenery. And the greenery soothes your eyes. So these concepts are now not being transferred to people. They do not know. In fact, like today in this big meeting which I had over there, I had a discussion with one of the officers who is in charge for this project. One of the officers was remarking, we told it is green meeting. Why is it that people are talking about economy but not about greenery? Then I told, you spoke about green in English. In English, green means green, that's all. Whereas if you translate it in Tamil, it is either pachai or pasumai. Pachai is only a color. Pasumai is prosperity. So there are two distinctions in it. So green as a color, green as prosperity, people are not able to distinguish. So it is time that organizations like yours should start telling people over there that greenery is for prosperity, not for a color. And eco types of plants, indoor plants can be grown. And if your office permits, sometimes what happens is certain plants, especially in cooler climates, once in a week at least, you will have to take them out and keep it in the light for some time and bring them back again. So if somebody is able to manage all that, they can happily have it done. There's no problem at all.
Wonderful. There is a message or a question that came through chat here. Question is, how can we control weeds in a natural way? It was interesting that you had mentioned some examples. You said pest repellent. You didn't say pesticide. It was almost like you had an undertone to say that nothing should be killed. Nature doesn't want things to be killed. They just need to be in the right environment at the right time. So what are your thoughts about how we can control weeds in a natural way?
I already spoke my mind. I was about to tell that the weeds would be complaining that you are creating a problem for them. Now, usually these weeds come over there, and if they are taller weeds and it is a smaller area, hand picking is the best. Before they flower. That's the best one. Otherwise, slightly, like acetic acid, vinegar diluted in water can also be a good effective way of controlling weeds. But going in for strong pesticides, I don't recommend, because when you are having something as a home garden, whatever you spray on your home garden is going to also affect you and your children who are living in the house. So don't grow plants for the sake of getting some value of them, but getting the real value of them. So in case certain weeds come, I don't use any weedicide. With the permission of you people, I have been admitting people who are coming over there because they are flashing on my screen as well, right? So I hope you don't mind about it. Anyway, now the thing is, hand weeding is simplest. I don't recommend any chemical to it. The best way to protect weeds is to mulch them. So when you mulch the area, they don't find enough space to grow itself. So mulching protects the weeds. Mulch protects from the growing of weeds, at the same time provides organic matter to the soil, also provides shelter to a large number of microorganisms and earthworms which grow.
Great. Another one that I had was, you talked about genetically modified food, and you were saying how, it's just inducing a lot of artificialness to the food, and then we're losing the main nutrients. The other half of it that happens over here is food needs to look good. So sometimes when they see imperfections on the food itself, like the tomato has a little spot on it, or the carrot doesn't look like the bright orange that it should be, we don't tend to bring it to our supermarket. And that's one of the reasons why there's so much food waste that's generated here in North America. And that's a common problem. Many people are trying to tackle it in different ways. But what are your thoughts around genetically modified food? And if we really want to avoid it, how do we go around doing that? Because you also said if we bring seeds from the store, that also has some chemicals around it and things like that. So what are our options? Because if we go to the store, we get genetically modified food. If we try to buy seeds, that also has some chemical in it. So where's the middle ground?
Well, first time you can buy some seeds from the market, grow them. As long as they are regular seeds, heirloom seeds, even if they have pesticides, grow them. But within you must decide that when they grow, you will allow some pods to mature by themselves. And you will start collecting your own seeds. because I would not advise you to get seeds from overseas, because many countries have quarantine rules and laws, and you have to follow them sincerely because you're not supposed to overlook them. So it's best that a group is formed. Supposing you people, for example, IUW, you people join together and say that you have a green club. So if somebody grows a lot of okra, they will say that, okay, fine, don't worry, I'm going to have some okra seeds. You have to pay for the envelope cost or whatever it is for the courier cost, but I would provide the seeds for it. Somebody grows eggplants, they say, don't worry, I'm going to protect seeds, I'm going to give it to you. So that is how slowly this should start with. So that each one starts a small seed bank, and then you start growing through it. You can also grow through cuttings, like mint can be grown with cuttings, right? Whatever food you go and buy, food seeds, what you buy. Like, for example, coriander, you buy fenugreek, you buy such things, that you just put mustard, you'll get microgreens, because they don't have pesticides in them. So it's the best way is to start growing with whatever seeds are available with you at your own house. When you eat the tomato, after eating the tomato, just allow one tomato to become overripe and just squash it in the soil. You're going to have a tomato plant, then you can start collecting seeds. So there are possibilities. The BT, this particular thing I must clarify to many people from the West. The thing is, any child who has studied science, even you people, when you studied science in school level, your teachers would have told you about one gene, one enzyme hypothesis. So every gene is responsible for some amino acids to be produced, and these amino acids constitute to form proteins. So this chain is there, a series of proteins which are acceptable to me as a human being. Fair enough. Now suddenly, Bacillus thuringiensis is a microorganism. Very safe. You can multiply Bacillus thuringiensis. You can even spray on your soil as a pest repellent. It's very good. But taking a slice of that gene and incorporating in this gene of the fruit or the vegetable, so a new sequence is formed. The new sequence will germinate new types of amino acids and new complex proteins, which can cause adverse reactions and allergic reactions in human beings. So this is not advisable. Is it only for the sake of protecting us that they are growing? No. Corporates are very, very intelligent people. They are growing them because tomorrow they would like to say that we control your food. So once you take a patent on the seed, then they control your food. Seed is the basic right of any individual farmer to grow whatever they want. Nobody has any right to control on seeds. It's nature's gift. Yeah.
Wonderful. The next question I wanted to ask was rainwater harvesting. A lot of countries try to mitigate harvesting by, they use that as a way to overcome droughts. They use that as a way to avoid flooding and things like that. You talked about how, you need to respect the plant canopy, and that's where you need to start watering the plants and so on and so forth. When we start intercepting the rain that's falling to the earth and we start storing it for some other purpose, do you feel that it's affecting the water balance, the water table balance, and does that impact the moisture in the soil?
No, this is very important question you have asked, Banu. The problem is many people have this wrong idea that rainwater harvesting means you just dig a pit and you allow the water to go through it by putting some pebbles over it. Rainwater harvesting depends upon the soil profile. So anybody who is going to do rainwater harvesting should first study the profile of the soil as to till where you find a sandy layer. Because in case you have a rocky layer, you have a clayey layer, then whatever you may do, water will not percolate. So even that water, once it gets saturated, will not go further inside. So you are not creating any undue thing. What has happened is in the past, it used to be everywhere used to be the same soil and earth. With urbanization and improvement, we are plastering the walkways. There are no enough space for the water to percolate. So that's the reason we are creating this rainwater harvesting structures. So it's not going to affect the water balance.
And just in the interest of time, I have to restrict it to the last question here. But going along the lines of rainwater harvesting and how you can store that in a household and things like that, what sort of architectural changes can we bring about in the way that we build houses to ensure that nutrients are going back to the soil. Because what happens is, especially in the West and a lot of other countries as well, we start building the house by digging a massive foundation. And then we pretty much take away that entire ecosystem where we're building the house. Then we put in cement and things that are not necessarily friendly to nature in there. And then we try to make sure that we have a garden outside of the house. We're putting a lot of things in the middle so that the insects are not getting inside the house. So there's so much confusion in the chemical balance of that space. So are there any suggestions that you have that we can mitigate the situation so that it's still a rich environment?
The concept of basements is very popular in your country. So that's the reason why people start digging up and putting up over there. Maybe in future, wise-minded people who come into the architecture department of your countries should be able to bring a change. I would rather probably forward you people a number of contact details about a very interesting couple, Harsha and Prabha Koda, who are in charge for volunteering for. They reside in a huge complex with about 200 and odd apartments. And they have beautifully designed, and they are also rated as one of the important group over here who are working with water harvesting. So they designed in such a way that the initial water goes out and the rest of the water is collected, and they have become almost water independent, right? So they don't buy water from outside. Maybe you can arrange a talk with them and they would be able to give you more information about how these things can be done.
Sounds good. And with
Dr.
that,
Sultan,
I
I think, hold on, Banu, don't hang up yet. Dr. Sultan, you know what? This is a great idea. Let's create another session where you can be with them and we can talk about it. Will that be it?
Oh, Olga.
All right, go ahead, Banu.
Yeah, of course, no worries. I was just gonna express my heartfelt gratitude on behalf of IUWF for your gracious time, Dr. Sultan. It was very kind of you to be giving us your family time, your night time. I know it's close to sleepy time in India, and we're still keeping you awake. But I would like to hand it off to Olga, Raji, and Subangi for some closing remarks. And once again, thank you so much for joining us again. And we look forward to having more sessions with you so we can spread and share your passion with other parts of the world as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Banu. Thanks. Wonderful. It's always good to interact with you while moderating the sessions. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sultan, for this amazing space that we shared today. I got like a pages full of tips so I can start my garden, my compost, and figuring out what seeds I'm going to be planting. Right now, I just have some tomatoes that I planted, so we'll see how that goes during the summertime. Banu, thank you so much for helping us getting all the questions from everyone and the time. And there was a beautiful conversation, Dr. Sultan. On behalf of the International United Women Federation, I just want to thank you, thank you, thank you. It has been more than informative. It has been inspiring, and it's just encouraging. I just got like some questions on my white grubs that I have to deal with, and so many things that we have. Thank you for reminding us that the earth is our home and that we have to take care of it. And to all of you who are watching us live, the ones that join us on our Zoom sessions, and the ones that are going to be watching us when we publish the recording, thank you so much for helping us to take care of the world. And we hope to say happy World Environment Day 2022. Hopefully by 2030, we will be able to help the United Nations with the goal of no hunger in the world, when we can actually use these small tips and start growing food for all of us, and nutritious food.
Nutritious food, yeah, that's important. Not fortified food.
Exactly. All right.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Thanks to all. Thanks to IUWF. Thanks to Raji. Thanks to Swangi, Banu, and Olga, who have been coordinating with me, and to all those participants and all those who have heard me today. Happy Environment Day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sultan. Again and again, we want to express our gratitude to you, because as Banu mentioned, it was your family time. I know you are doing this the whole day today. So we are very thankful for your time and everything. So as Olga said, so we will meet again. We got like rich information today. So we can deny that so much wonderful information you brought is a wonderful session. We are so thankful. Again, we thank you so much. And I stopped the live. Okay, so it's done. Yeah, thank you. So, Bang, you want to say anything?
Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm outside, but it was amazing, very informative. Even in the car, I couldn't stop listening to you. Very inspiring. And I remember from your first session that you were saying everyone has green thumb. So I'm sure this session will inspire everyone, and definitely our view about how to preserve the earth and everything will change, I'm sure. And I think I agree with Olga. We should have more sessions with you to continue and learn more. You have lots of knowledge. I don't think 1 or 2 sessions, 1 hour is not enough. We should continue sessions with you. And thank you so much.
It depends on how often you arrange tea for me.
Sorry?
How often you send tea across.
And Olga and Banu, thank you so much for putting a great session. And I would like to thank everyone, putting up this beautiful, informative session. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Subha. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Banu. Thank you, Dr. Sultan.
ரொம்ப நிறைய எஃபர்ட் போட்டு நிறைய நல்ல விஷயங்களை நல்ல கண்டென்ட்டா மக்கள்கிட்ட கொண்டு வந்து சேர்த்துட்டு இருக்கக்கூடிய தமிரிக்கா டிவிக்கு உடனே யூடியூப்ல அதை பார்த்துட்டு இருந்தீங்கன்னா அவங்க சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்க, கண்டிப்பா கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்க, உங்களோட ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் கூட ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க, அண்ட் பெல் ஐக்கானை மறக்காம கிளிக் பண்ணிருங்க.